Starting tomorrow, the United States will implement reciprocal tariffs on other nations.
We're going to dive straight in with our main story this week, which concerns the ongoing chaos of Trump's tariffs. It's been an emotional roller coaster since Trump rolled them out last week with the help of the single dumbest chart in human history.
Can you explain how you calculated your latest round of tariffs? Was there a formula that was used?
Formula was a formula based on common sense, based on deficits, based on how we've been treated over the years, and based on raw numbers are dead and dying, and it should be stopped.
Last time when America imposed tariff average 40 to 100%, it saw skyrocketing inflation, trade deficit, fall in living standard, mass job destructions, devaluation of dollar, and collapse of financial institutions one after the other. There was fall in export by 61% because of retaliation. Global trade shrunk by over 60%. After all, there was a Great Depression all over. Yes, you guessed it right, I'm talking about Smoot-Hawley Act 1930.
As the United States slid into depression, the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act was one of many policies adopted by President. Negative effects that followed the beginning of the Depression.
Today, the situation is not so different. Trump administration has imposed 10% universal tax on all imports, 60% on Chinese goods, 15% on European Union, Japan and South Korea, and 50% on Indian products. This makes the average tariff of 2.5% till a decade ago to a skyrocketing 27%, which makes it the highest of the American history, beating the infamous Smoot-Hawley Tariffs of 1930. Results: it is draining the average American wallets. Dollar is falling, trade deficit is widening. Most importantly, long-standing alliances have strained. Is Trump tariff protecting our domestic priorities, or it is just a political tool which is leading America into a great recession? Before I answer all these questions, first let's understand what exactly tariff is. So if you are someone who already know what the tariff is and how it works, you can skip to this timestamp. But if you are someone who don't know what the tariff is, here is a very simple explanation. It is a tax imposed on imports, that is a goods coming into a country from the another country. Think it as a entry fee. Suppose a Chinese company want to sell its cheese into American market, and the price of cheese per kg is 80 US dollar. And if the American government imposes 20% tariff on Chinese product, so 20% of 80 is 16, which is the amount a Chinese company has to pay a US government in order to enter a US market. The primary purpose of imposing the tariff is to protect and promote the local businesses, domestic businesses, and to raise revenue. But sometimes it is used as a political tool by the leaders. Here is how. Let's understand it by the same previous example. Suppose an American company is selling a 1 kg of cheese in the American market at a price of 90 US dollar. But if a Chinese company became ready to sell 1 kg of cheese in the American market at a just price of 80 US dollar, the reason can be cheap labor, cheap raw materials and others. So when it tries to enter into American market, America imposes 20% tariff. So 20% of 80 equals to 16 US dollar. So 80 plus 16 equals to 96 US dollar. So the normal buyer who would have easily shifted to a Chinese cheese because on the every purchase it cost them 10 US dollar cheaper. But now Chinese cheese became more expensive in the American market than the American cheese because of the tariff. Here government collected 16 US dollar as a revenue and the domestic company got no harm. So it is a consumer who is deprived from the benefit. A normal average American who would have got the 1 kg of cheese at just 80 US dollar now have to continue purchasing from the American company at 90 US dollar. So next time when the government increases tariff, it is not the government or company who will be at disadvantage, but it is a consumer who will pay a higher price and their wallets will drain. Now imagine no cheese is being produced in America. All the cheese that is consumed in America is imported from the different countries. Since there is a 10% universal tariff, a consumer will purchase cheese 10% costlier without any family members being employed at a cheese farm or a cheese company just because of a leader policy. This is where sometimes tariff is used as a political tools. If this is a very clear to you, let's get back to our main topic. Picture the scene 2016. Sorted factories in Ohio. Steel towns in Pennsylvania losing jobs by thousands. Farmers in the Midwest considering how globalization left them behind. Into this moment, Donald Trump stepped in. promising something bold, something radical. We are going to bring jobs back. We are going to make America great again. We are going to do it by fixing our trade deals.
I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again. The American dream is dead. But if I get elected president, I will bring it back bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and we will make America great again. We need a leader that can bring back our jobs, can bring back our manufacturing.
For the millions of working class, this wasn't just rhetoric, it was personal. Trump framed globalizations as not a mutual corporations but a zero-sum game in which America always loses and somebody else wins. And in 2017, the campaign turned into policy. First, in the name of the national security, 25% tariff imposed on steel and 10% on aluminum. Not on the China, but Canada, Mexico and European Union. By 2018, 25% tariff on Chinese product worth $34 billion within a year, which reached to $300 billion. Now the time was for retaliation. Canada slapped duties on US dairy. European Union targeted the American iconic products like Harley Davidson motorcycle, bourbon whiskey and Levi's jeans. China punched back, targeting the US soybean, pork and other farm exports. For the Midwest farmer who voted Trump hoping that their farm income will increase, now for them it wasn't a policy debate but it was a survival. Take the example of lawyer farmer Paul. He had to delay his investment in 2018 watching the acres of soybean rot because China, the biggest buyers, has slammed the door shut. In return, Washington tried to help, pouring $28 billion into bailouts. But to the farmer, it felt like a band-aid on the wound that wouldn't heal.
What percentage of your soybeans is exported?
100% of my beans.
100%.
Right.
And he believes almost all of it has gone to China over the years. But with President Trump's tariff war, China is no longer buying U.S. soybeans. Income has plunged 20% on this farm over the last year because of that.
When you're operating on margins of less than single-digit percentage margins, 20% is very devastating.
In 2025, Trump administration has again presented something flashy. That is, these tariffs are projected to generate $2.7 trillion between 2025 and 2026. That's the revenue the government says will help to offset the tax cuts and fund the domestic priorities. Sounds like win, right? But on the ground, the picture gets murkier. Number 1, inflated consumer cost. Today, every groceries item is 3% costlier. A pair of shoes is 40% expensive, and if you are someone who is thinking of buying an average car, you have to spend $3,000 extra. This means on average, tariff in 2025 cost families $2,400 a year. Depending upon the income, some family may lose as much as around 9% of their earning. Just imagine you lost your 1/10 of your paycheck without buying a even single extra item. This risks middle income families $22,000 lifetime losses. So this is not about numbers or charts but about the lived experiences of families. Number 2, trade deficit. The story doesn't end at a individual income or household income. The bigger picture is just as troubling. GDP is a measure of an economic health. It doesn't look good as well. In 2022, trade deficit was $916 billion in total, but it peaked to $140.5 billion in a single month of 2025. According to some economists, American economy will shrink by 0.5% between 2025 and 2026. And if the things get worse, it can make 6% a smaller economy. That is, on average, $125 billion will be gone every year. This is what not Trump tariff has promised. Number 3, devaluation of dollar. Look at this article of The Guardian. The US dollar is at its worst in more than 50 years. It has fallen by 10.8%. This is the worst in any year since 1973. Number 4, international relation. In the race of isolating China, today America putting itself into isolation. A wave of boycotts is plummeting the sale of American goods by 37%. Europe has slapped new duties on the American products, especially the US electric vehicles. And the tensions between United States and India we all know, when the United States imposed 50% tariff on India for buying the Russian oils. Now friends are becoming cautious rivals. So again, the biggest question is America absolute losers? And last time when tariff was this high during the Smoot-Hawley Act 1930s, global retaliation left America into a Great Depression. So is history repeating itself? Well, not really. Domestic steel and aluminum is seeing a small boost. Non-advanced manufacturing like basic goods are likely to see 4% long-term growth. And most importantly, Washington will collect $172 billion in 2025. So America is not absolute loser and is not likely to see a Great Depressions like 1930s. But yes, if the things doesn't go or work in the same way, it can see a mild recession. This is why Americans themselves are in a split. On social media, there is a tug of war. Some voices are appreciating the policy, framing it as a long-term strength, while others are angry for their higher bills, shrinking savings, and draining wallets. I want to know your opinion in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next.